Hello and welcome to this discussion highlighting the importance of enterprise supplier development for one of the world's largest technology players, that is Microsoft. In business, we often talk about mutually beneficial outcomes, interests, and ways of operating. What's good for you is good for me. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. You win, I win. For Microsoft, that ethos is at the core of the software giant's operating model, spanning thousands of partners around the world that make up its network and ecosystem. Join us today as we unpack why enterprise supplier development, or ESD, is important for Microsoft, what the company is doing in this space, the impact they are seeing, and their plans for the future in South Africa. My name is Muriwa Gavaza of the Business Day and Financial Mail, and I'll be your host for what looks to be quite a fascinating discussion. And joining me is Lebogang Luvuno. She is B-BBEE executive at Microsoft South Africa. Lebogang, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's get into ESD, right? We often talk about how ESD programs, a lot of corporates have these programs. But when it comes to the specific operating model, of Microsoft, right? Mm-hmm. It's literally built into the business model, because in many instances, you are not necessarily the ones that are fulfilling, certain work. You literally have to work, through, some of these partners, that you have. So why is ESD a strategic priority, for Microsoft in South Africa?
Thanks for that question, Mediwa, and you are absolutely correct. ESD is built into our model, or the opportunity for ESD is built into our operating model. So for those who don't know, Microsoft only sells the software. The deployment of the software is done through our partner network. Yep. As you've mentioned, we've got thousands of partners across the world. In South Africa, we have around 700 partners, and these partners work with us to ensure that we deliver to our customers. And a stat that actually is quite interesting that shows the potential with regards to this industry, with regards to the emerging partner program that we'll go into shortly, is that for every dollar that Microsoft makes in selling software, there's $7 to $8 to be made in deployments. So there's actually more money in the partner network than there is in selling the software, and that is where the opportunity lies, and that's where we're trying to diversify. And that is then why enterprise and supplier development is important for us, because one of our initiatives is the Emerging Partner Program, which looks at diversifying this partner ecosystem to ensure that small Black-owned businesses are also part of this opportunity, are also able to take part in the growth that is possible in there.
In economics, we talk about the multiplier effect. And what you've just described is literally a multiplier. For every, $1 that you're selling in software, there's this, $7 to $8 opportunity, that exists in the rest of the ecosystem to be making money, servicing clients, being implementation partners, this entire thing. And you've started touching on the emerging, partners, that are there. Talk to us about the place of programs like that when it actually comes to building, a robust partner network in a country like South Africa, and perhaps articulate for us what are the challenges, that you're almost trying to solve for by having a program like that, because in many instances, people start an IT company and then they go and get, certifications depending on the OEM or the software, provider they want to, provide for. And then they do a bunch of trainings, and then, okay, you get certified. Now you are a partner, we go. But what in that chain, right, are you specifically solving for? And how does the South African context fit into all that?
Awesome. So I think maybe let me start by explaining what the Emerging Partner Program is. Yeah. So the Emerging Partner Program is a program, an ESD program of Microsoft's, where we look to empower 100% Black-owned small, medium, and micro enterprises in the ICT sector. So we work with companies who are interested in becoming a Microsoft solution partner. Yeah. And our program looks to basically reduce the barriers to entry into the Microsoft Partner Network and to guide them and accelerate their movement, their journey through into the ecosystem. So the program has 3 parts. The first is the technical training that you spoke of, so getting the ICT training, training on our products and services, and being able to then deploy because they've got the training. Then there's the business development support, where we support them holistically on their businesses to help them understand their businesses, the opportunities for their businesses, their positioning for their business, so that they can become financially and operationally independent. And then the last part is quite an important part, and that's the deployment. So that's the access to market piece. So what a lot of companies don't realize is that to become a Microsoft partner, it's not just about the technical training. You also need to actually do the work, so that we know that you can do the work and we can trust you to do the work before you can be a partner. It's a point system where you gather points from these areas, from 3 different areas, in order for you to get a designation on one of our solution areas. So what we do is to simplify that process, and the challenges that small black businesses were facing in the space is the barrier to entry of, do you even have the money to train your resources? Because it's money. You've got to pay for the training, you've got to pay for the exams, you've got to do change management training. Every deployment comes with change management, as you can imagine. You also have to have the network to get the opportunities to deploy in order to get the points. And a lot of these small businesses don't have the network. So what we do is we go with them to find opportunities, and we try to break down the barrier to entry in terms of getting into the customer environment. So we work with the sales team to look for opportunities for our emerging partners so that they can get the chance to deploy. So essentially, in a nutshell, what we're trying to do is reduce the barriers to entry, help them with their journey, because it can be a little bit complicated. So just managing, associating your employees who have done training with your profile on the Microsoft Partner Network, just those small things can sometimes be a little bit intricate and difficult to navigate as a small business that doesn't have a dedicated resource doing that, where bigger businesses might have that.
Let's actually go a little bit deeper into what you're talking about around simplifying the situation for the small businesses, right? Because one of the criticisms that has, popped up over the years around, this emerging program is the red tape, right? Now, the whole program is premised on reducing the red tape. So talk to us about maybe the disconnect between the type of red tape you are accounting for in the beginning versus what some of the people on the programs were actually facing. And then I think tied to that, right, what's the actual experience when people actually, go through? Are they completing everything? What's the reality there?
I think where we began, we were trying to, as you say, simplify, as I said earlier, simplify the process, empower Black-owned businesses to become part of our partner ecosystem. But the journey to becoming a Microsoft partner is generally quite complex, because you have to go through certain steps. We need to make sure that you are as compliant as you can be, because as you can imagine, you're going into our customer environment. We want to make sure that our customers are not put at risk at all. And as I said, with the bigger companies, they'll probably have someone who manages the Microsoft account and manages that process for the company, and that's a key part of their job. So they're able to go through that, and they know the right people to speak to within Microsoft. We are a global company where some of the support we give is based elsewhere. You can't find a warm body in South Africa to talk to, and just navigating that as well. The bigger companies have global networks, and they're able to find a way to connect to the right operating company or to the right support structures, whereas the smaller ones aren't. So what we try to do is reduce that, or to help them navigate that. And I think the feedback that you're speaking about is that some of the smaller partners still found it quite difficult to understand who to talk to, within the organization. Who do I speak to if I'm looking for this? Who do I speak to if I'm looking for that? So what we've done to try and simplify it is that the Emerging Partner Program Manager and the support structures around the Emerging Partner Program are their one point of contact. So what we do is we have office Tuesdays. So we've got a call that we have every week from a certain time to a certain time. We sit in that call whether partners come to ask questions or not. We they know that at any point on a Tuesday they can find us there and they can ask their questions, and then whatever blockers they find, we then connect them to the right person within the organization. And I think it'd be, we've done quite a lot of work to understand it ourselves, because sometimes it's complex even when you're within the company to know who to speak to for certain areas, and we've done that work to make it easier for our partners. So I think that's the one thing that we've done. We've also tried to make sure that even during the recruitment process, we are available to answer questions, to guide people regarding the documents they need to have available for us to review their application and to vet them into the program.
Okay. Certainly sounds like there's a big education push that you almost have to engender, into this entire thing. Apart from the program for these emerging partners, any other programs that you are working on, to try and balance out, the representation in either in the network or, in the industry?
Absolutely. So the Emerging Partner Program is specifically for the network. It's within our ecosystem. We have the Equity Equivalent Investment Program, which is our program that we launched last year. So it is an ownership equivalent. So just to explain the context, so for multinationals who have a policy to not give local ownership in any market, we are allowed, the DTIC has created a vehicle that allows multinationals to then apply for an equity equivalent investment program. We invest 4% of our annual turnover or 25% of the company value towards programs that are in the ESD area or skills development and research and development as well. So we have launched a program. It's our third iteration of the EIP, investing 1.3 billion rand over a 10-year period. And within that, we've got an enterprise and supplier development program that actually has two legs. So there's the tech startup program, which basically looks at empowering tech startups to help them get off the ground and scale as they get bigger, and that involves business development support, investments in the form of grant funding and overhead costs covering, so whatever the business needs. It's quite a bespoke program in that we look at what that particular business needs versus the EPP, the Emerging Partner Program, which is quite standard because we know what's required for you to become a Microsoft partner. Here, you can be an ICT company but have nothing to do with the Microsoft Partner Network, and we'll still support you and help you with what you need for that. And then there's the non-tech accelerator, and that's for more established companies that are not in the tech space. And there we're using technology and other resources to accelerate their growth to ensure that they can contribute to the economy, create jobs, improve the economy in whichever way that they're able to contribute.
Sounds like there's a lot that's going on, under your particular purview. Just now you mentioned job creation, right? As being part of the objective of the different programs that you're working on. Let's talk about impact, right? Because if you're going to have programs, we must be able to at least count, to say what has actually been achieved, from there. Where I want to start the impact discussion is maybe getting a sense of what's happening in terms of the emerging program, getting people in and maybe graduating them into the rest of the partner ecosystem.
So as I mentioned, we've got about 700 partners in South Africa approximately. On the Emerging Partner Program, currently we have just under 70 partners. So the Emerging Partner Program makes up 10% of the partner ecosystem for Microsoft. And out of those emerging partners, we see a graduation of between 15 to 20%. And while that might seem low at face value, it actually, from an impact perspective, it is quite a high number considering that there's only 700 in total. And when we look at the program itself, we find that there are different kind of partners, and we are looking at how we maybe tweak the program going forward to ensure that we cater for all of them. There are some who are really just interested in technical training. So once they get in and they get the people trained and they get the exams and they associate them, they're comfortable and they'd rather walk their own, take their own journey in terms of how they go through the partner network. Then there are others who come in and they take advantage of every single aspect of the program. We find on average that's where the 15 to 20% comes from. Those are the people that really immerse themselves into the program and ensure that they get the the majority of the training done. They get their designations in terms of the skilling, and they bring deployments and go with the sales team to find deployment opportunities. Those are the ones that end up having, creating the most impact. It's those companies and all the others as well, but those companies have helped us reach the numbers we've reached in the past 18 months, where we've created just under 200 jobs. Yeah. We've seen, as I mentioned, 15 to 20% of these companies graduate into the formal Microsoft partner ecosystem. We've seen some of them expand. We've got the likes of Talanta, who's one of our graduated partners, who now have customers in the US and the rest of Africa. Nice. So there are lots of case studies where we see companies that really take advantage of the program. And I think with anything, with any ESD program or anything in business, really, it's really about how much you're willing, how much skin you have in the game. So as much as we're giving all the support, you actually have to take advantage of the opportunity and make the most of what's available in front of you while you are on the program.
It actually makes sense what you're saying, because as you're talking, it really does sound like it's almost what the business on the program makes of the program.
100%.
Right? Do you want, up to a certain point, do you want to go, all the way? Are you picking bits and pieces? And do you find that the current structure is still good as is, or are you also making tweaks, to how you address the different people and how they are wanting to engage with the program?
We absolutely are making tweaks. I think what we've tried to do within the program is to remain agile. So when I first started at Microsoft, for example, we only had the technical training and the deployments. Okay. We then introduced business development. Yeah. Of late, the emerging partner team has actually introduced what we're calling access to market through eventing. So what we do is we take our partners to big events like Africa Tech. We're going to Africa Tech next week. Yeah. We took them to GovTech. We took them to the KZN Digital Summit. So we take them to events where we partner with them and we showcase them as Microsoft, because that gives them credibility, right? Yeah. We show up and we say, we are Microsoft. These are the Black-owned businesses that we deliver with. And that way our customers have access to them, and they have an opportunity to speak to our customers. So for example, at GovTech, one of our emerging partners, Nokulunga Consulting, was showcasing with us at GovTech, and they spoke to the team at Parliament, and they were asked to go present there and present one of their solutions. Yeah. So we use those opportunities as well, and that came from a request from the partners to say, we want to be in these spaces, but it's really expensive to get a ticket into Africa Tech, So we thought, okay, let us get into these spaces and use our name to bring them in with us. So that's something that came up recently, and as we go along, whatever opportunities we find, what we're trying to do is remain as relevant and agile as we can and meet, because at the core of the program is we need to deliver, we need to make sure that these partners grow and they get what they want to get out of the program for their businesses. So it means we need to be flexible to some degree wherever possible.
When it comes to something like what you're describing, right, this ESD program, you almost have to, where we began the conversation, you almost have to ensure to whatever extent you can that the partners on the program are as successful as possible, because that directly feeds into Microsoft's business case, and performance in the country. But tied to that, right, how do you then make sure that something like that is firstly inclusive, and then secondly is sustainable over time, something that can, run, because it's almost in perpetuity. It's not really for
you're never done.
You're never done. How do you ensure that, and how do you measure that?
With regards to inclusivity, so that's a really good question, and we've challenged ourselves to say, how do we make our program more inclusive? And for us, it's about the area. So we found that a lot of our partners historically used to be Gauteng based, the economic hub, everyone is based here. They're the ones who apply for every program. So we've proactively been going into the different provinces to find partners there. And we do the same on our equity equivalent investment program to try and go into the other provinces, the outlying provinces where opportunities don't come in. And that's also been driven by our customers. So we'll go to a customer in the Eastern Cape, for example, and they'll say to us, when you come and you're you're pitching for opportunities with a partner, we want you to use a local partner. So then it's incumbent on us to find and develop these local partners along with our customers in those areas. So we're doing that from an inclusivity perspective. From a longevity perspective, we're finding that the best way to make the learnings, at least on our side, and what we've heard from the industry, is to make the best way to make ESD successful is to make it as much part of your core business as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Because what we know really sort of makes a difference with regards to ESD programs is access to market.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs are looking for purchase orders.
Yeah.
Like, give us all the training you want, give us all these things. Can you give me a purchase order? Exactly.
Yeah.
And the only way that happens is if they are integral to the business. So what we found, as I mentioned earlier, we work with our sales team to look for opportunities. It's what you spoke to earlier, that it needs to be a win-win, right? So even internally, if we can use our partners to drive some of the objectives of the sales team, then they will want to support the program and work with our partners. So we're finding ways to build it into the business a lot more to make sure that they are part of our strategy. As we plan for the year ahead, we're saying, where do our emerging partners come in? How do they help us win so that they can grow? And I think that's what helps with the sustainability. What also helps is ensuring that some of our graduated partners come back and pay it forward. So we try and partner some of the partners that are still on the program, the emerging partners that are still on the program, with the ones that have just graduated. So they can say, this is what I did. Here's an opportunity that I found. This is a small part that I don't think I want to do. You can go ahead and deploy there. And I think that way the whole ecosystem kind of works towards the same goal.
Okay. It is quite an interesting one, what you're talking about, because in many businesses, ESD is almost like in a corner, right? But then bringing it into the broader organization, broader strategy, and actually making sure that you're driving actual business outcomes through that, tends to be, a little bit difficult. Are you able to maybe share with us how you maybe evangelize, in the rest of the organization and actually make sure that, people are on board, with, going, let's say your sales team, going with some of these smaller partners, onto certain projects, into certain pitches, that type of thing?
Well, I think it's twofold. It's a matter of us getting really good at selecting the partners.
Okay.
So what you spoke to about the people being in the program, being the ones that being responsible for taking advantage of the opportunity themselves, it comes down to better recruitment, right? And over the years, we've kind of looked at who makes it and what do they have that we need to look for the next time we recruit. So making sure that we have partners that we know that our sales team and anyone else who's working with them can rely on. So knowing that they will produce quality results. And then finding the opportunities. So we sit in core business meetings so that we can understand what's happening in the business. And as a blocker comes up, we're like, hey, we have a partner that can do that. So finding a way to say, we can't be separate. In order for us to evangelize in the business, we need to be in the business. So we need to understand the business, understand the opportunities, we've got co-pilot adoption that's really important to Microsoft right now. Our partners are very key to that because they're able to do training in customer environments around co-pilot. And that's something that we don't have enough internal people to do at Microsoft. So our partners are helping us with that. But finding those opportunities only comes from being in the conversations, making sure we understand what's happening and taking it back to the partners, and also inviting the business into the spaces where the partners are. So we have partner meet and greet sessions where we bring the sales teams and our customers to meet our partners, and they get to talk to them about what they're doing, what solutions they're working on, what work they have done. And that way everybody understands what everyone else is doing and finds ways to collaborate.
All right. In this last part, let's peer into the future a little bit, right? Try and gaze into a crystal ball. We've been able to get a sense of where the program has come from, where it is now, and as we look to maybe 2026, what are some of the plans to either expand or improve, the ESD program? Like we said, the work doesn't end, right? But how do you make sure that you are achieving more as you continue?
Very good question, and it's probably something that keeps me up at night because as much as we've got this ESD program and it's doing, I think it's having quite a big impact, and as you say, we've come from somewhere, we're getting better and better as we go along. What we're finding is we're still limited. The budget is what the budget is. Yeah. We are finite people with finite capacity in terms of what we can get done. So what we are exploring now and have started doing is how to partner with the rest of our ecosystem. So we are bringing our customers along. So we're saying, hey, we have these partners, we're doing this. What budget do you have for ESD? What can you do with us to make sure that we increase impact? And we started talking to some of our bigger partners who are then coming on board and saying, oh, we can actually take on a cohort as well. Okay. We can do this. So I think part of the growth for us is we need to go, it's the going further together analogy, that we can only do so much. We can only have so much impact if we're relying on Microsoft's resources, Microsoft's budget, Microsoft's ecosystem. But if we tap into our customers, our other bigger partners, and all the other networks that are available to us in order for us to amplify what we're doing, then we get to do more. So that's what we're focusing on going forward.
All right. And as part of the things that, keep you up at night, what are the things that at least make you smile, about the job and, the work that you do?
The partners themselves. Yeah. They are so inspirational. These are people who get up and entrepreneurship is hard. It's not an easy thing. No. I have a bit of experience there as well. I know it's not easy. Yeah. But anytime I speak to them, I'm so energized and inspired because they want to have impact. So as much as we say, we know we're pushing job creation, we're pushing economic participation, they are doing the same. Yeah. So they'll have the conversations with us to say, hey, I actually want to hire more people. Our partners came to us and said, you guys train a lot of young people. We don't have money to necessarily hire loads of people, but if you can help us by co-funding their stipends, we can take some of these guys on. So we had a partner meet and greet with our trainees from the skilling side on our skills development program. And some of those young people were placed in the partner organization. This is the second time we've done this. So the things that make me smile are seeing that impact, seeing us all working together. I think a lot of the times corporates we might look at our beneficiaries, as we call them. We'd like to prefer to call them partners, rather. But our beneficiaries, and think that we are there to support them, and but actually we're all co-creating something. We're all working towards, fixing or contributing to fixing the challenges that the country faces. Yeah. And seeing those partnerships, seeing those gains is really encouraging and empowering.
All right. So it has been a great discussion. Thank you so much, for joining us today. I think what really sticks out to me, as I said at the beginning, it's the fact that, for a company like Microsoft, your fortunes are literally tied together with those of the partners. So when you're thinking about ESD, it's almost not a nice to have, but almost a crucial business imperative 100%. To make sure that, one, there is a viable network of partners today, but also that there is a future pipeline, of businesses that add to the 700 that are already there. Absolutely. And also making sure that in that network you have people that are appropriately skilled, because like you said, they're going into your customer environment, so they must be able to walk as Microsoft in a sense, for what they do. And then I think just the last thing is the fact that, like you said, entrepreneurship is not easy. And anything we can do to actually make sure that entrepreneurs are actually equipped, but secondly, given access to market, that's really key. I know a lot of discussions about funding, but this access to market, when we talk to entrepreneurs, they really talk about that. And that access to market is quite complex. It's not just a matter of pitching. Are you pitching in the right way? Are you speaking the right language? Are you, so really great discussion, so thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been lovely speaking to you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. So that's where we end off this discussion on the importance of enterprise supplier development for Microsoft South Africa. Thank you so much to Lebogang for joining us. I've been your host, Mlio Gavaza of the Business Day and Financial Mail.